Okay, so let's acknowledge ourselves for being so cute and fine. So we just keep our mouth shut, everything will be all right. Because we just cute enough to get what we want anyway. Just don't blow it by talking. It'd be amazing what happens to you. And we're going to be on page 335 in the Way of Mastery. I'm going to start out to get us kind of focused in. I'm going to start out with some questions that I'm going to ask that I just want you to listen to. Just let yourself kind of free yourself from the day. And let's see how deep we can go down the rabbit hole tonight. You want to go down the rabbit holes?
Yes.
Okay, that means that you have to, there are certain rules that need to be observed if you really want to go to this new level of consciousness that we're trying to go to tonight, which is, it's important for you to remember that you don't have to believe it and you need not believe the ideas. That's very important to being able to hear new ideas. Because as soon as you think that you need to believe it, or somebody's expecting you to believe it immediately, when you hear a new idea, it's going to stop you right in your tracks. So just look at it like I'm willing to open my mind up to listening to something totally different from what I ordinarily hear. So just do that tonight. Go, I'm just willing to listen to something new and something different. I don't necessarily have to understand it, because my understanding isn't a powerful contribution to the truth. It's not my understanding that makes something true or not. And so you don't have to accept it, welcome it. It's okay to resist it. If you use it, you will see that it works. If you use it, you will see that it works. If you use it, you will see that it works. If you use it, you will see that it works. Did I say, if you use it, you will see that it works? If you use it, you will see that it works. And so the question is, just let yourself hear the question. I told you the page, 335. So I can move this out of the way for a minute. Here we go. If, for instance, you have no money, look well at what you have believed about money in the past. If it looks like you are experiencing a lack of money, look at what you have believed about money in the past. Especially look to see what were the beliefs about money that my parents held. What were the beliefs about money that my parents held? What were the beliefs about money that your parents held? What beliefs about money did your parents held? What did they always say? What did your guardians always say when you were coming up about money? What were the beliefs about money that your parents held? If, for instance, your parents believed that spirituality and material wealth cannot go together, and therefore to be spiritual means to do without materially, then look at how your life has evolved. If you believe being spiritually good means to do without materially, then look at how your life has evolved. Do you find a block at receiving money for being of service to others? Do you find a block at receiving money for being of service to others? Do you find a block at receiving money? Do you find a block at receiving money for being of service to others? But do you find no block in receiving money for doing something you dislike? Do you find no block in receiving money for doing something you dislike? Are you receiving your income through doing something you don't really like? Are you receiving your financial income through receiving money for doing something that you dislike? Live in that question. beloved friends, and begin to apply it to the whole of your life. As you look at your life, 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 look at the effects you experience as your surroundings and your context. As you look at your life, look at the effects you experience as your surroundings and your context. In other words, are you alone with no lover or friends? Are you alone with no lover or friends? Are you alone with no lover or friends? Are you alone with no lover? Are you alone with no friends? What have you believed about the world previously? What have you believed about the world previously? What have you believed about the world previously? If you're doing something really nice as being of service to other people, doing something that you see as being humanitarian, do you find that it's harder for you to receive? But do you find that you are willing to let income and money come into you if you're doing something you don't like? As you look around your life, look at the effects you experience and the effects that you are experiencing, you would call your surroundings and your context. Are you alone? Do you see yourself as having no lover or lovers? Do you see yourself as having no friends? So what did you used to believe about the world previously? Because this is deep. It says, somewhere it is the nature of your thought, the agreements that you've made unconsciously, or consciously about what things mean, which means the agreements you've made with your family, with your culture in which you have been birthed, that has actually generated the energy that is showing up as the effects you are experiencing in your life. I'll say it again because it's so deep. It's the agreements that you've made unconsciously and consciously about what things mean. It's the agreements that you've made consciously or subconsciously with your family and your culture that you were born into. That has actually generated energy, and that energy is showing up as the effects that you are going through right today. What thoughts or beliefs were you holding within your mind to produce the life you are experiencing right today? So look at the state of your relationships. You know exactly what your relationship agreements and beliefs are. If you look at your financial situation as you perceive it today, you're seeing exactly what your conscious and subconscious beliefs and agreements are. How lonely you are is also determined by the agreements and beliefs about what you are. So when people say they don't know what their beliefs are, they're not really being very observant.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, is anybody sitting in that chair?
I'm sitting in for Tamara. She said she's going to be late.
Okay. All right.
Are there more upstairs?
It's some up in the library. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So based on that, is there anybody in here that does not know what they believe?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of depressing depending on what area of your life you're looking at. And in some areas, it feels really great. I feel like, wow, in some areas I'm actually doing better than I thought as far as some of my beliefs. And then there's some areas I see that I have some beliefs that I still need to transmute and change. So it says that one common thought might be, oh, I just can't really make it on my own. I need to be taken care of. I don't believe I have what it takes. And then 25 years later, you wonder why you feel resentment towards your mate. Now, the resentment is merely the recognition. Resentment is the recognition that you thought a negative thought about yourself. I'll say it again. The resentment that you feel toward another person is really the recognition that you actually have thought a negative thought about yourself, acted on a negative thought about yourself, and then you created, check this out, you created the effects of a person who seems to be controlling and providing you with all the money or something else that you think you need that you're resenting. So if it looks like someone else is in control of your experience at any level and you feel resentment, we're being told that really you started it. Because you had a negative thought about yourself, and not only had a negative thought about yourself, he says you acted on that negative thought about yourself, and then that created the energy, which created the effect of the person to resent. So the resentment I feel toward another person is actually the reflection of the resentment I feel toward myself. And the other person has been created in my experience as a reaction to the negative thought I had about myself. That's what we just heard. That you don't have to believe, that you don't have to believe, that you don't have to believe, that you don't have to accept. So you think there is a fault in them. You think there's a fault in them because you have forgotten to see that the pebble that you dropped into the pond of omnipotent creativity. You have omnipotent creativity. You have unlimited creativity. And you don't realize that the thought that you dropped into your own mind that has infinite creativity, which is the domain of the mind. The mind is another word for omnipotent creativity. That's what your mind is. It has no limit to what your mind can create. The Course in Miracles says the mind never sleeps. That even when you are asleep, your mind isn't asleep. And that's obvious from dreaming. Your mind is still creating even when you think you're asleep. So your mind never rests. And so it's the thoughts that I've been putting in my mind that's actually creating the effects that I'm meeting in my world. Okay, all right, okay. Then it says karma then is an effect or result of how you use your mind. Like your karma or the physical thing that you're experiencing or the effects that you are experiencing right now, that's actually nothing but an effect of how your mind is being used. So when people say that's my karma to go through this, they're just saying because of the way I use my mind, I'm going through this. Because of the way I'm using my mind, I'm going through a relationship like this. Because of the way I'm using my mind, I'm having a financial situation like this. Because of the way I'm using my mind, I'm having relationships like this. Karma is nothing but the effect of how I am using my mind. And so now I have indeed said that karma can only exist wherever there is no unconditional love. So you have to reap the results of the negative, fearful energy that you put out in your own mind as long as you are not unconditionally loving. So if you're unconditionally loving, it neutralizes karma. You don't have to experience a negative result from some negative, fearful thought that you had in the past, that you forgot about, that you acted on. And so if I'm willing to learn how to love, I don't have to reap the results of my own negative thinking. That's what we just heard. I don't care what you think you're going through, or what you think you've done in the past, or what you're feeling guilty about. That can be dispelled, and the effects and results that you're going through as a result of your own subconscious or conscious negative thoughts can be neutralized through being unconditionally loving. So now we're going to answer, what does that mean? Because we know what it means, but we don't want to do it. So it's like, I want to pretend I don't know what it means. What do you mean, unconditionally loving? You're asking me to do something I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I can do conditional love very easily. Can't you? We're good at that. So this is what unconditional love means. It says, when the mind unconditionally loves, that means you're going to love yourself first. That's different. Because the minute I heard unconditional loving, it was about my ego said, well, that just means you're trying to be nice to somebody you can't stand. And so we're going to call that unconditionally loving. You know, somebody I really got a lot of resentment for, you telling me I need to love them no matter how they treat me. Did your mind go there? Yeah. Unconditional is like somebody's doing something to me and I'm just supposed to be okay with it and just love them anyway. So you can always tell when you are interpreting the truth incorrectly, and I'll tell you how. Whenever you're interpreting the truth incorrectly, then it feels like it's laying a burden on you. So that's how you get your quick truth and false test. If I say anything to you, or any truth book says anything to you, and you don't see it as lightening your burden, bringing more joy to you, then you should say, my interpretation of what I just heard is wrong.
Wow, that's good.
That's what you do. Stop right there. I was reading this book and I feel depressed. Yeah. Then it means that I'm interpreting everything I'm reading on this page through my fear and through my ego. I'm not saying the same thing is true when I meet another person. I don't like you, I'm mad at you, I'm upset with you. Okay, then there's something about my perception is not correct. But see, we have a tendency to want to believe what we're seeing and feeling even more when we're upset. Not that means I wouldn't be upset about nothing. Yes, you are. I'm mad, so therefore I must be right about what I think I'm going through, because I wouldn't be mad about nothing. So we don't realize that just because you are angry and upset, it doesn't make something true. Just because you are upset, that doesn't make it true. So it's saying, so the first thing you want to do when you're doing unconditional love, it says first thing your mind must do is love itself first. And then number 2, it says your mind must place no conditions upon what your mind receives. Look at it. Your mind must place no conditions upon what your mind receives as ideas from the universe. In other words, I am not going to limit my receiving. I'm not going to set any conditions on what ideas I receive from the infinite, from the divine. I'm not going to tell the universe what it's okay to give me and what is okay in terms of the ideas that the divine wants to give me. In other words, I'm going to stop trying to tell the universe, divine, God, what to do. I'm going to actually be open and receptive to receiving all the ideas that I could possibly receive that would allow me to experience love. So first I got to love myself, then I got to stop placing conditions on the universe in terms of what ideas it gives me. He says, there are many in your world that look up to those who take the greatest chances in life. There are people who admire the people who take the greatest chances in life. For example, the actor or actress who waits on tables at some cheap hamburger stand, sleeps on a park bench, which is what Eckhart Tolle was doing before he had his awakening, keeps taking acting classes, and finally gets the part and becomes rich and famous. Yet the one who became rich and famous is one who received the impulse of a desire to act, like I received the impulse of the desire to teach. Then it says, then I followed up on it. Oh, I went around and scheduled classes. Wow, what a radical idea. I wanted to do something and I actually did something in the physical body. I went around to all these little bookstores and libraries when I first decided I wanted to do the course full time. And the Holy Spirit told me to resign the job that I had. And so I went in and I resigned the job that I had right before they were getting ready to promote me to like the next level up above the next first level of management. And I knew I couldn't do it. I knew if I took it, that I was going to probably trap myself. And before I knew it, I would have so many material responsibilities that I be tempted to stick on that job, even though I'm not getting any fulfillment out of it because of what I see as my material obligations. Plus I could no longer be inspired to do it. So he says, then you follow up on it, and then this is the other part. He says, then the person was willing to do whatever it took to be in the context in which something may or may not occur. I had to put myself in a position where I was teaching to see what would happen. I had to put, and you could apply this to anything. I want a relationship. Then I first have to receive the impulse of the desire to act. In other words, you're tempted to fake it. All right. You receive the impulse of the desire to act, own relationship. You follow up on it. You might go to Match.com. You may start networking. You may start asking friends if they know anybody that would be nice. You're doing something. You're studying books on relationships. You're really trying to change your mind first and foremost. But you're not just sitting back thinking about it. You're actually doing some physical symbolic gesture to show that you have faith in what you're doing. Then it says, then you have to have the willingness to take the risk. I had to take the risk of knowing that if I went out to do the Course in Miracles full time, I could fall flat on my face. And at that time, I had one child in the 8th grade and one child in the 10th grade, and had child support and all that good stuff to do, as well as pay my bills and everything else. You know, but if you are really inspired and you're really moved and you really feel like it's the divine and your own inner guide that's telling you to do something, then you will be moved to do it. If you're sitting back going, I don't know, I don't really know what I want to do. I kind of want, okay, that's not divine guidance. That's not spirit directing you. You best get up and go to work tomorrow. Or you might be standing on the corner and some little angel give you an anonymous envelope with money. and give you a hug. In other words, such a one is living. Think about it. Before they're successful, who gets less respect than an actor or musician? It's like before they're actually famous and successful, people criticize them, say they're lazy, don't want to give them a break. Why don't you get a real job? But the minute they hit it big, we like worship them like gods. It's so funny to watch the difference in the way that we deal with creative people once they allow their creativity to be known in some way. You know, I talk to many musicians, I've counseled with many musicians and artists, and the hardest thing to get them past is the poverty consciousness that goes with the desire to do any of those things. You know, they'll say they want to be a singer, but they think that you just can't make any money being a singer. Or I want to be an artist, and you just can't make any money. So the thing that inspires you, your ego tells you, don't do that. And then the thing that doesn't inspire you, you go work 60 hours on a job that you hate. Because I'll never forget when I worked as a telephone installer repairman. And I was up on a pole, but I had chipped my way up the pole, and I had those little spikes on my boots, and I was climbing up to the top of the pole, and it was cold as a mother. And I was right by the river, because I was in Memphis, Tennessee, right by the Mississippi. The hawk was blowing, and I'm just up there trying to put a damn wire together, and so somebody can talk some meaningless stuff that don't mean nothing. And so, and the lady down on the ground whose phone been out for about a week, you know, and they don't realize that when you come to do a repair call, you don't know anything about that person until right before they tell you to go there. So you know, you're not responsible for when you show up. But you become the whole phone company. So I'm up there risking my life in the cold, freezing snow to get this latest phone working. And I said to myself, I'll never forget that long as I had just got into metaphysics and New Thought and teaching me that my thoughts was creating my reality. And I was like, well, what the hell have I been thinking? And then, just like I'm saying here tonight, you know, what was I thinking to put me in this position, right? And I said to myself, if I have nerve enough to literally risk my life for this salary, doing something that I don't love, 40 or 50 hours a week, certainly I have enough belief in myself and what I really love to at least do the thing that I really want to do and follow my heart. Because if I can risk my life for something that doesn't matter for me, surely I can take the risk of following my dream. And I made that decision, and I started to do everything these metaphysical books said. And the first thing that happened was they promoted me, and I was no longer on the pole. I was the guy sitting in the truck watching the people on the pole. And then sometimes I'd be in the club watching people on the pole. That was like an extension of my job. And I was passing out envelopes too. I was just tucking them. But it was my spiritual purpose. It was That was important.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the truth is, I had to be willing to take a risk. You have to be willing to take a risk, and then look at what's happening now. I'm doing what I love all the time. And the Holy Spirit, the higher self, that said if I was willing to fulfill my function and do what I was told, then I would always be provided for to be a messenger of love. And there's not a lot of people you can talk about when you live like this, because it's terrifying to most people. You know what I'm saying? But the only reason why you can see me smiling is I don't think it's me taking care of me.
Right.
If I thought it was me taking care of me, then this would be a nerve-wracking way to live. You can see that. But if you know that you're sustained by the love of God and you learn how to get the blocks out of the way that will allow you to know that, then you can do exactly what your function is for being born. And your function, you can always tell when you're doing it, because your happiness and your function are the same thing. When you're really fulfilling your function, you're happy. When you're not fulfilling your function, you're not. The universe wants to support you in fulfilling your function so that you can be happy, because our job, according to the Course in Miracles and also the Way of Mastery, is to be the physical living presence of joy and happiness in the world. So we should become the witnesses to people that it is possible to be completely happy here, provided you learn how to listen to your own divine guidance. So Spirit is just asking us to get the hell out of the way for a minute. Let it teach us how to move through the world in such a way that we're always provided for, while bringing love into this place. And what I noticed about that was my ego used to tell me that meant I was going to have to sacrifice my pleasures, because that was part of what I learned in growing up in religion and church, that every time I was doing what I really loved, I was sinning. You know, and in heaven was, the streets paved with gold and harps and all this kind of stuff. And I'm from the hood. I ain't into no harp, I want some funky bass, So it wasn't exactly thrilling me. The idea of heaven wasn't moving me too much. So from the time I was a child, I thought something was awry. How many of you thought something was awry since you were really young? You're like, somebody's selling me a bill of goods around here. Something's up, right? And so that's why I love classes like this, because it gives us an opportunity to feel normal and natural. You were not insane because you thought the world was insane. Okay, you're absolutely not sane because you think the world is insane. It really is. But what we don't realize and don't own is that it's still an aspect of our own mind that we're looking at. And that's where we make the mistake. We go, they are crazy. No, it's not exactly that they're crazy. You're crazy. And you're only crazy because you learn crazy things. You're totally capable of responding to sane things if you're ever told anything sane. Because Jesse says we learn insane lessons. So you're not insane. You just learn some things that are insane. Okay, like what? Like the way that you feel is determined by something and somebody outside of you. That's the main level of insanity. Is to believe that happiness is not an internal matter. So every time I say my happiness would happen if you change, then I'm insane in that moment. I'm not using sanity. Now, is that a very popular viewpoint? No. That the reason why we're happy or unhappy has something to do with what somebody else is doing or not doing. So that's the most common form of insanity that we have in this world. And the world approves of it. The world likes you to say somebody else is the reason why you're unhappy. As a matter of fact, if you take too much responsibility for what you're going through, you'll alarm your friends. They'll get upset with you. What do you mean? No, you didn't have anything to do with that. That was him. That was her. That was, what you talking about? You were just an innocent little victim of all. What do you mean? When you start taking responsibility, that's frightening to people who blame. They don't want you to take any responsibility because it means they might have to take some. Okay? But what's magical is for you to say, I'm responsible for how I'm experiencing this. I'm responsible for what I'm going through. I'm responsible for how I'm experiencing. And you sincerely say that and remind yourself of that, and then watch the situation magically begin to transform itself and be healed, or at the very least you will change your mind about it and you won't be as upset about what's going on as you were. It's amazing what taking responsibility and not blaming yourself will do for you. Notice I said taking responsibility and not blaming yourself. Saying, oh my God, I did that to myself. I did that. I don't know how I did that. That is not taking responsibility, okay? That is blaming yourself, okay? So you're not doing anything that's very conscious when you're blaming yourself. So don't let your ego think you're doing something great when you say, oh, I did that to myself. I did it to myself again. That's blame. That's an attack on yourself. That's not loving yourself. That's not unconditional. I'm responsible means I can change it. That's when you're taking responsibility, you don't feel trapped anymore. You feel like you have options. And options make you feel better. They don't make you feel mad. So don't confuse blame with accepting responsibility. And you can tell the difference between the two by how you feel. So if you're beating yourself up, you're blaming. If you see you taking responsibility in a way that it means that you have options and you can choose once again and you can experience it another way, now you're seeing it in the right way because it's freeing you. And I don't care what situation you're in right now. I don't care what situation you're going through right now. It can be healed if you're willing to follow the simple changes in perception that you must learn in order to allow spirit to correct it. It's not going to be corrected in your perception if you don't change your mind. So you can be as nice as you can be, but if you still think the same old way, you're still going to get the same situation, but you'll just be a nice person in that screwed up situation. You'll still be nice, so you wouldn't lose your niceness. You'd just be miserable and really nice person. Okay, just hold just a second. All right, so, and then ask yourself this, when you get ready to ask a question. Ask yourself, am I about to ask an honest question? Or am I about to try to restate my point of view? And am I asking this question with an idea in my mind already about what the answer should be before I even ask the question? So that when I get the answer, I'm going to immediately defend against it because I already had an answer in my mind when I asked the question and you didn't say what I wanted you to say. The Course in Miracles talks about how we don't get helped a lot because we never ask honest questions. We ask questions already assuming we know what the answer is and we're looking for a validation to our point of view. Or whatever the truth was that we were just presented with is so threatening to our old way of looking at things that we're looking for the flaw in the reasoning we just heard. So we're listening in terms of how can I disagree with what you just said? How can I convince myself that it's not true and that it wouldn't work? So I'm not listening to you from the perspective of what is it that the way of master is saying that I could use tonight to change my life. I'm really listening to you from the perspective of how can I find a flaw in what you just said and how can I come up with an example of how what you just said couldn't work and couldn't be true. And I just throw that out to the group. Ask yourself, am I asking an honest question? Or am I looking for a validation to a point of view that I'm at? And then in that case, it would be better to say, okay, I just need to make a statement. This is what I believe. But try not to couch it in the form of a question when you know you already made up your mind about what you think the answer is. And I'm saying this to you, not to limit you, but I'm passing on what Spirit said to me. And that's what these books are saying. What I'm saying to you, Earl, you're supposed to say to everybody else, and then they're supposed to say to everybody else, and then they're supposed to say to, and then it gets extended out throughout our experience. First I have to receive it, then I give it. Then I receive it, then I give it. Then I receive it, then I give it. That's the clue. So he says, now this is the part you want to hear. It says, the person who ended up being a successful actor, that says such a one is living actually in a state of unconditional love of the self. So what is living in unconditional love of the self? Well, it's number one, you loving yourself first, placing no conditions on the ideas that you receive from Spirit, acting on your impulse, following up on your desire, being willing to do whatever it takes to put yourself in the situation where something can happen, have a willingness to take the risk. That's the one who's living actually in a state of unconditional love of self. Whether they think about it or not, this is a person that's carrying the subtle belief that the universe will somehow arrange itself and will support you to follow your heart. So a person that does that is a person who unconsciously or consciously believes that the universe is going to arrange itself to support the thing that they really want to happen. I had to do that. I had to go, okay, I'm going to do this stuff and I'm going to set it up, Holy Spirit. And you said if I did that, you were going to take care of me as I'm willing to be a messenger of love. So if I didn't believe at some level that the universe was going to arrange itself and support what I was doing, I never could have done it. So now you see the difference between a person that follows their heart and a person who just follows their security urges. And most of our brothers and sisters live at the level of just the security center. They do everything just to feel secure. And one other thing, secure and comfortable. The Course teaches that for the average person, the comfort of their body is their guiding rule. They're doing everything to just have a more comfortable physical situation. And that has nothing to do with the evolution of their consciousness and their soul. I just want to have a nice car. That's why I'm here tonight. I just want a really nice car. You know, loving everybody else. I want that Lexus. That's what I'm here for. I just be straight up with all y'all. I don't give a damn about all y'all. I just want a new car. I could almost respect a person more like that. You know what I'm saying? I love people when they're straight up with me and they just go ahead and say exactly what it is that they want. Because everybody knows when they walk up to you. And if they go to stuttering, they're scared to tell you. Somebody asks you to go out with them, say, what for? Freak them out. You want to go out with me? Why? What do you want? What for? What would you like to achieve? If I really told you, you wouldn't go out. But really shocks you though if you try that, and I've tried that, no matter what it was I thought I desired. And what's amazing is how many people will say, I want the same thing too. Because by the time you get that honest, you're on a level of consciousness that you're attracting other people that are just that honest too. Yeah. So it's not like you're becoming that way with people who still aren't that way. The ones you become that way and want to be open and authentic and tell the truth, because first of all, it saves a lot of time. And you really want to save time. And so you draw people who are just as authentic, who just as much want to take a risk, who just as much want to have the impulse to act. You know, you find you're not alone in anything that you're really about. Now, you will seem like you're alone in something you're faking. But if you're really a loving person, you'll never be alone. If you really believe abundance is your natural state, you'll attract it and you'll attract people to you that's in it. But if you're pretending you believe that, then you'll be a person who it looks like you're saying all the affirmations in the world and nothing is changing and you're frustrated. It's because you're not sincere yet. You're still afraid of it. At some level, you're asking for something you are afraid of, but you don't even realize it. So, boom, now question, comment, yes.
So, when I say an adjective before something like belief, it stops me. So, is there a subtle belief? And I can take that a couple of different ways. I can take a subtle as in I'm not jumping up and down and telling you what my belief system is. Or I can take it as subtle body. You know, I have the surface body and then I have a deeper cellular knowing. How would you interpret that? What would subtle belief mean to you?
A subtle belief would be a belief that I believe that it's so low key that I don't even realize I believe it. And when you say like the subtle bodies, that's true too, but that's getting into the deeper metaphysical aspects, because most people don't realize that they got a subtle body and a light body and all these other bodies that you eventually end up with this physical body, but it's nothing but a reflection of your light body. And because this is an effect, and so everything physical is an effect that's the result of an idea. So an idea is actually realer than the body. The idea of a body is realer. The idea of your body created your body, because there had to be an idea of a body before there was a body. That's deep. Now these books say that your body was not created by God. What? Don't be blaming God for that body. It ain't none of God's fault that you ate them 10 tons of pie. But let me tell you. That ton of candy was not God. And then the more you hate your body, the more it don't look like you want it to. That's the other weird thing about the body. It's like the more you don't identify with the body as being you, the more it conforms to your idea image of what you think it should look like. Most people don't know that either. Their obsession with it is what keeps it from becoming the way they want it to be. Because the obsession is based on fear and not on love. So you see what I'm saying? So the idea of the iPod is realer than the iPod. Because even if I destroyed this iPod, the idea that created it would produce another iPod, like hundreds of them, millions of them. You see what I'm saying? So what's realer? The idea or the form it took? That's true about you. That's true about your body. You think you're your body, but your body, it's like saying you think I think I'm the iPod. But it's the idea behind it that creates it. So that's why all these books keep saying it's your thoughts, your ideas, your thoughts, your ideas, because it's trying to get us to act from the causative level, and we're used to acting from the effect level. We're always used to dealing with something after it's happened. And the Course and Way of Mastery is saying, let's get in front of it and let's get into what causes what you want to happen. Instead of always dealing in the back end. Something's happened that's upset you, or you like or don't like, and now you're trying to deal with it. That's the effect level. That's not the level that a conscious being acts from. The conscious being realizes that by the time something is a physical effect, they're looking at the past. It's already done. So what they're doing is using this moment to focus on the idea they want to see manifest now. Follow me? Okay, yes.
And so, I was reading in the Course in Miracles, chapter 17 or whatever, set a specific goal. And I thought, if I do that, that's coming from a specific goal. You know, how specific, how concrete, how...
It doesn't matter what you ask for as long as you ask the Holy Spirit or your higher self to be in charge and make the final decision about whatever it is you're asking for. And also, that same section is saying be very specific about what you want. It's saying ask for sanity and love and peace. Actually, what it's talking about is your goal should be sanity, because everything that's causing you pain is coming out of your insanity and not knowing what the truth is, and that creates the effects you are experiencing that's making you unhappy. So he says your goal should be sanity and peace.
And that's specific enough.
That's specific enough. And it also says, because it covers everything, that if you did want to ask for specific things, then you ask for the specific things that you want, and then you finish it up by saying, and if I make no decisions by myself, this is the day that will be given me. So still saying, it's okay to ask for what you think you want, just don't leave higher power out. Don't leave higher power out. And our problem is most of us have a higher power outage. That's pretty good.
Don't turn the light off when you make a decision.
In other words, don't turn the light off when you make a decision. That's exactly right. Don't unplug it. Yes.
And could you repeat that? And
if I make no decisions by myself, then this is at the beginning of chapter 30 in the text of the Course in Miracles. It's called the Rules for Decision.
Oh yeah.
Okay, the rules for decision. It goes quickly, something like this. If you're upset about something, you say, at least I can decide I don't like the way I feel now. Because in most cases, people are upset about one thing or another. So he says, so the first thing you do is, first you say what it is you want to experience down to the smallest detail that you know what that is. Then you say, if I make no decisions by myself, this is the day that will be given me. Then if you receive an answer or guidance and you experience a quick sense of opposition to what you're being told to do, which is very important, that means you've already made up your mind about what you should be doing, and then you're asking God's help. And what you're hearing coming back to you from the universe is different from the way you have planned it, and so you get upset. Okay? And the Course says whenever that happens, you're supposed to stop and go, I forgot what to decide. I forgot to decide that I'm not going to make any decisions without my higher self. How can I tell I am? Because I got some guidance and I was told to do something, and all I feel is a quick sense of opposition. Let me give you an example. I was told to say I'm the one that's creating all of this. I'm the one that's giving it the meaning that it's giving, that I should ask for another way of looking at it rather than go off on this other person about what I think they did to me. So my plan was to go off. Right? And the truth is telling me if I want to have peace, I got to stop going off and stop not taking responsibility for what's happening. So now that's opposite to my grievance. So that means I had already made up my own plan, which was attack defense. Right? So I forgot to decide not to make any decisions without my higher self or God. So I need to stop a minute, he says, and say I forgot what to decide. Then he says, at least since I got to decide something, I just got to. He says, well, if you just got to decide something, say this. And at least I can decide I don't like what I feel right now. I don't like that person right now. I don't like this. I can decide. In other words, be honest about your feelings and say, at least I can decide I don't like the way I feel right now. That's the decision I'm going to make. At least I can decide I'm feeling afraid right now. He says, and then you say, and since I decided, at least I can decide that I don't like what I feel now, and so I hope I have been wrong. So you say, I don't like the way I feel and I hope I'm wrong about it. I don't like you and I hope I'm wrong about it. I don't like this situation. But you always follow it up with, and so I hope I'm wrong about it. Because you don't want to be right about the things that's making you miserable. Because then there's nowhere for you to go to get it healed. If it's right, that's the way it is. You can't change it. So whenever you're feeling miserable or any lack in any way, don't ever want to be right. But that's when most people want to be right the most. Right? So the course said, then you said, at least I can decide I don't like what I feel right now, and so I hope I have been wrong. And then you follow it up with, and so I want another way to look at it. I want another way to look at it. I hope I'm wrong, so I want another way to look at it. Then you go, perhaps there is another way to look at it. So you got to go, well, I want another way to look at it. Perhaps there is another way to look at it. Perhaps there is another way to look at it. So you say, perhaps there is another way to look at it. And then you finish the whole thing up with, and what can I lose by asking? That's the process. I'm upset. I don't like the way I feel now. I hope I'm wrong about it.
Look at it. Perhaps I am wrong.
Perhaps there's another way to look at it.
Perhaps there's another way to look at it. Well, but first I want another way to look at it. Perhaps there is another way to look at it. So when you get to the point you can rattle that off without second thought, that's how you know you're getting it. If that never crosses your mind, you know you need to study more. It's really that simple. If none of these answers are the first thing that enter your consciousness, you know you have some studying to do. If you find that you talk and I talk all this metaphysical, I create my reality, I'm powerful, I can change things in here. And then as soon as you walk out the door, something happened and you're saying to me all about the economy and Obamacare and the Republicans and how this calls you a woman. And you don't mean a doggone thing you say in this room when you go out of this room and you define your whole reality the way everybody else does. And I hear it and see it all the time. And I've seen it in myself. I'll hear all of us talk this metaphysical stuff, and then we get out of here, and we'll instantly go back to I'm a victim of something that's going on outside of me. And I almost get mad if somebody reminds you of what you just said in the class. I'm just being straight up. It's not until, it's the way you think when you get upset that is your belief system, that is your default setting. If you want to know what level of consciousness you're on without any doubt, check out the way you handle upset. And if you handle upset just like everybody else does, as soon as you get mad, get hurt, and you go for vengeance, and you go for attack, and you go for projection, and you go for blame, that's the level of consciousness you are really on. Not the one you say you own when you're smiling, and it looks like everything is going great because you're getting your dreams and fantasies acted out the way you want them to today, which is what the average person means when they say they're happy. It just means the fantasies that I've had for today looks like they're coming true the way I want them to come, so I'm having a happy day. That's not real happiness. It's not, because the minute your script is not acted out, then you're miserable. Real happiness is you being able to be unshaken by anything that's happening on the outer. It doesn't make you lose your center. Now that's happiness. I'm happy if I lost my job. I'm happy if I have my job. I'm happy if I have no money. I'm happy if I have lots of money. I'm happy if I have a lover. I'm happy if I don't have a lover. I'm happy if a lot of people come to my class. I'm happy if a lot of people don't come to my class. Because I never know who's going to come to that class. I don't know what damn room to go into every week. It's driving me crazy. So like I'm like, so like my life. That's my life. I never know what to expect. Never. I can't tell you how many times I pinched myself and went, am I really in this physical experience that I'm having right now? How did that happen? I mean, one time there's a line in the course that talks about you'll be surrounded by babbling brooks and mountains. It's talking about this really beautiful, peaceful environment you would be in at one point when you got to doing the course. And I remember I was up in Montana up there to speak for something, and my host took me out to some of the most beautiful land I've ever seen in my life. Was in Montana. Even more impressed me more than when I was in Hawaii. And I looked up, and we were reading, and I looked up, and I was literally in the freaking thing that it was talking. There was a babbling brook going. And I was like going, we both looked at it, wow! You know, and so that's happened so many times with the course that I find that I'm actually in the kind of situation that it's describing to me at the very time it's describing it to me. Like right now. You know, we're joined together on the purpose of loving each other and recognizing the truth together. It completely blew my theory that I would have had years ago that there weren't other people that I could relate to that's like me. I'm on this all alone. There's nobody around me that's into this stuff like me. Yeah, y'all understand that crap? Look around you. Now, how do you know you're beginning to accept it as true? How do you know you're beginning to accept these beliefs as true? How do you know you're ready for another way to look at it? Because you're in a physical situation right now where the people around you are wanting to look at things another way just like you. Now you know without a shadow of a doubt that you really want to change your mind. Now there are going to be stages on your spiritual development, and this is important to remember. There are going to be stages in your spiritual development where you're going to be taught the lesson, and this one is kind of a challenging, because I've gone through that one. It's like, because it's been 35 years of being in the Course in Miracles almost. It'll be 34 years this year. I've been teaching for 33 years. And so I've had a lot of experiences. And I hear people say all the time, I've been studying the Course in Miracles 3 months, 4 months, studying this, and I've seen such a change in my life, such a change in myself. And I tell people, well, could you imagine 34 years and then teaching it, not just coming. So if y'all think I got any semblance of normality, you're sorely mistaken. I am relating to you in a way that won't frighten you. I'm not relating to you the way I can relate to you. You better believe that. You've seen a very conservative Earl Purdy ever since you ever walked in this door.
Earl, who are you saving it for?
I'm saving it for the moment the Holy Spirit tells me it's okay to unleash myself on you. I used to decide on my own when to unleash myself. And after a while, you learn to not do your own unleashing. But when you are given the go-ahead, when Spirit said it is safe, let yourself love full on, then you don't hold back. And you have an experience of total ecstasy and oneness. And you can do it without ever touching the person. And it's a lot easier that way. I've tried both. It's easier not touching. When the people that you might touch might misperceive that and become frightened. And so you learn that your number one rule, like on Star Trek when they said, don't interfere with the alien civilizations. Well, in the Course in Miracles, it would be something like, don't do anything to increase anybody's fear if there's any way you can do that. So I'm always around people, listening to them and watching them and letting them determine how I should relate to them. If you're withdrawn and you walk up to me, I'm not going to grab you like that. I'm going to, hey, And then some people, they run and they jump on me. You know, and then that's wow, thank you. We can roll around the floor, hug each other. Because you're not afraid of me. You're recognizing your oneness with me. And every physical contact doesn't mean I'm trying to get your body. And that's how afraid we are. Is that we think every physical contact sometimes is all about getting your body. You know, I want to get what's really valuable. Your body is going to change. But you're eternal. You're going to have a lot of bodies. You've had a lot of bodies. I mean, you've had a lot of bodies. If bodies alone did it, you'd already be like, so y'all, a bunch of y'all sure know it ain't about the bodies. Some of y'all still think it is because you don't have bodies very often. But those body experts, y'all know. Y'all know. Okay. So I'm going to go to the next part. All right. You ready? Take a breath. Whew. You don't even know how you ended up here, do you? Just minding my own business. And that thing, I know I was around this guy. Take a breath. You got to first of all, you got to love your own mind. And then the next thing you got to do is let go of the conditions that you're placing on the universe. Let go of your conditions that you're placing on the universe. And the next impulse you have, the next desire that you have, that's coming from peace and coming from love, act on it. Follow up on it. Be willing to do whatever it takes. Be willing to do whatever it takes to put yourself in the context where that thing may occur or may not occur. The next thing you do is have willingness to take the risk. Have willingness to take the risk. Have willingness to take the risk. That's what you do when you're actually living in a state of unconditional love. You are telling yourself, subconsciously you're telling yourself, I believe that the universe will arrange itself to support me to follow my heart. I believe that the universe will arrange itself and will support me to follow my heart. I believe the universe will support me in following my heart. All right. Now, karma doesn't exist in unconditional love. Let's see what it says. Let me just throw this out to the group. How do you feel? Do you enjoy hearing this stuff? Does it excite you? Cool. All right, let me know. Let me know. Let me know. Because I don't want to do it to you unless you want me to. That's my rule.
Do it, baby.
That's what I'm looking for. That sounds like the voice of the Holy Spirit. You can tell when God is talking to me. They say, do it, baby. I ain't hearing that. It ain't God. I'm telling you. That's right. That's right. I'm telling you that if they got a restraining order out on you, it's probably not your soulmate. Just keep that in mind next time you're stalking somebody. You look out the window and you sitting up in the tree outside his window, you might not be his soulmate. Because there's one rule that always takes effect when you're not loving yourself. You will never want what you can have. And you'll always be attracted to who and what's unavailable. Always. You'll want the person you can't have. You want the situation you can't. That's how you can tell when it's not your love that's behind it. Because love would not have you wanting something you couldn't have. Oh, Lord. So karma does not exist in unconditional love. Karma doesn't exist in unconditional love. Karma doesn't exist in unconditional love. In unconditional loving, karma doesn't exist. The example I have given you is just a rudimentary phase of unconditional loving. In its mature state, in its spiritual state, unconditional loving means that the mind has awakened. Now, how can you tell when your mind has awakened? It's a mind that's seen that nothing that occurs in life can cause it to contain or withdraw its love. So when you wake up, you realize that your safety is love. And that the only thing you have to do is make sure you stay a conduit for love. Because if you do, then you know you're safe. So it says when you wake up, you're not going to let anything stop you from being loving. Not because you're trying to be so nice and nicey, but because it's like someone saying, as long as you hold this red ribbon, nothing will be able to harm you. Well, you're not going to put the red ribbon down. You're going to hold the red ribbon as much as you possibly can. Not because you're trying to be nice, but because you want to be safe and you want to survive and you want to experience your life in a beautiful way. Well, that's what we're being told. We're not going to be doing love just because it's something we should be giving to somebody else, so we pretty much think they don't deserve it unless they treat us the way we want them to anyway. It's like, no, love is my protection. Love is what feeds me. Love is what takes care of me. So the more you tempt me to be angry, the more I'm going to try to tune into love, because I have to really stay loving around you, because you're the one I'm tempted to attack. And if I attack you, I attract attack. So the people who make you mad are your greatest temptations to attack yourself by giving something you know you don't want to receive. So that's when you need to remember the truth the most is around people who irritate you the most. That's why they're such a blessing and such a gift, because they make you aware of the things within yourself that has not been transmuted yet. That's why they upset you, let you know you still got some dark spots off in there that need to be healed, or you wouldn't be getting upset so much. So if you're upset all the time about something, it just means that you're loving very sporadically. Oh no, it's not, it's their fault. I would be nice if they weren't just such a horrible person. No. The only thing that's missing in this situation is what you're not giving.
Really not giving.
Woo! You know.
Right.
Whew, let's take a breath behind it. Just take a moment. Let's have a moment behind it. Because I know I'm giving it. What you talking about? That's what my ego says. You know that's not true. You know you really you gave that love. You gave that love. They just did you wrong, but you was loving them up. You know, your ego always says, you're the victim, 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 you're the victim. And so it's telling us that karma then, it says that in the perfection of unconditional love, the mind simply loves. So karma then cannot be said to exist, because that mind is no longer experiencing effects coming back at it. It has transcended the world of cause and effect, and regardless of what arises, it merely loves. And who can be imprisoned who simply loves? So I don't care what you're doing. I'm not going to change my purpose. I'm not going to change my purpose. I'm not going to change my desire to experience love. I don't give a hoot what you do. The easiest path, if I could tell people in 35 years of working with this, the easiest path through life is silently. We talk too much, and then that creates a lot of the opposition that we have. It's best to just let people be exactly as they are. You take your truth and you apply it to yourself. Then you're going to draw people in your personal life who share your vibration and your consciousness. And so you'll get a chance in your personal life to express your truth. And then with everybody else who doesn't believe it, they won't mess with you, because if you don't say nothing, they'll think you're like them. So since they think you're like them, they don't mess with you either. So you end up walking in a world where you're totally safe. But no, not the average truth student. They're going to try to go convince mama, daddy, friends, and everybody else of stuff that they don't even believe themselves yet. They walk right out of here. You're like, you know how it is. You walk out of here and you try to describe this class to somebody, and you can't do it, right? And then you just say, well, you just got to come, because where we are coming from is it's an experience. It's more than what you can say to somebody. They have to come and experience the unity that we share. You see, so that would be a person who's what? Willing to risk, willing to act on something. You know, it's like the same thing. So it says that, so there is a transcendence of karma through unconditional love, and unconditional love is always the fruit of the decision to love yourself. Love yourself first. Love yourself first. Love yourself first. Love yourself first. Why should you love yourself first? Why should you love yourself first? Because I can't give what I don't have. Because I can't give what I don't have. And if I don't have any love, I can't give any love. If I don't have any love, I can't give any love. So I got to love me and build up some love. Have a lot of love I can give to you. But I can't give you no love if I don't have no love for me. And in the world, people who don't know how to love, they think they can love somebody else. And they don't, and they can't stand themselves. I wouldn't get involved with somebody who don't love themselves. I don't care how much they tell me they love me, because I know they don't love me if I see them putting themselves down and treating themselves bad and not caring. I don't have to fall for the words that they're telling me. I know this person can't love me, especially when they're putting me before themselves. If I see somebody not putting themselves at least equal to me, I know I shouldn't get involved with them, because you're going to deal with resentment at some point. People start to resent you when they sacrifice for you. Sacrifice isn't love. You don't ever want, I always tell anybody, any kind of relationship with me, don't you sacrifice what you really want for me. You know, whatever it is you really want, do it. I mean, I've had intimate relationships where I was willing to let that person go if they really would be happier with somebody else, because I loved them. I wanted them to be happy, even if it wasn't with me. I didn't say I didn't go through my emotional changes about that, but if you really love somebody, you want them to be happy and you want to be happy. Because if you and what you are is not enough, then you don't want to be there with them anyway. The courts, the way a master said that you bless it, you release it, and then you move on. He says it right here in the book. Your relationship break up or it seems to end, then you need to take a moment and say, if there's anything that I should have done differently or I could have done differently, Holy Spirit, basically let me know what that is. I'm going to forgive myself for any errors I might have made in that relationship, as well as appreciate the blessings that I had in that relationship. And I'm now going to be open to the next relationship that's going to come into my life right now. But if I feel guilty about what happened in that relationship and I thought I mistreated them and I haven't forgiven myself or I didn't do what I thought I should have done, then I'm not going to be willing to let them go psychically and emotionally in my mind, because I think that I need to make up to them for what happened. So then I look for a relationship that I can make up what happened in the last one with the new person.
Wow.
So I'm actually in a relationship with the person that's not there. But I think I'm in love with the new person. But I'm really looking at the new person in terms of the old person. Well, you know what the old person needs. You ain't going to do that to me, buddy. You're not going to do that. The old person that never come home for dinner on time. The first time you're not here on dinner on time, I'm through with you. See, so I'm not really dealing with you. I'm dealing with the old person that I used to have a relationship with. So most people are not in a relationship with the person they're in the relationship with. They're really in the relationship with all the people that came before them. And they're trying to, and this person has to make up for what never happened to you in all of your relationships. That's a lot of pressure to put on a person. That you got to make up for what everybody else didn't do for me. You are the one that has to do it. If somebody came up to you and told you that and asked for your phone number, would you give it to them? That's why nobody tells anybody that. Because if we ever told the truth, none of us have a date. So I have to tell myself, whenever I'm with anyone new in my life, that this is not any other woman you've ever known. This is not any other woman you've ever been with. This is not any other woman you've ever been with. This is not any other man you've ever had a friendship with. This is not, I have to literally, consciously say to myself, because they'll look like they're doing some of the same things that the other ones did. Because my mind is going to filter out everything that they do differently, because I'm looking at them in terms of the past. So I'm really just narrowing in on what they are doing that's a reflection of what somebody else did, and I'm overlooking all the things they're doing that's really cool, that's totally different from anybody I've ever been with before. You follow what I'm saying? Because I'm looking at it through my filter. So you literally have to say, especially when you find yourself not wanting to trust them because of how somebody else betrayed you. So you say, oh, I can't trust them because the last time I trusted somebody, then look what happened. See, you have to go, this is not the same person, this is not the same person, this is not the same person. And you don't set it up where they have to necessarily don't betray you like the other person did. You have to go, I'm going to take 100% responsibility for my willingness to open up and to be vulnerable again. Which means they might do what the other person did, and they might not do what the other person did. So what's going to make the difference? What's going to make the difference is what my purpose is and what it is I come here to give. Because most people do not enter a relationship for what they can give. They enter the relationship for what they can get. And they're much more about their own happiness, and it has nothing to do with others. It's almost like everybody in my life is just there to act out my fantasy. And the person who can act out my fantasy the best is the one I said loves me. But what I've forgotten is nowhere in my fantasy is it really about what can I do for them. And so I'm all upset because of what everybody isn't doing for me. That's what most people, you talk to them, they always got to agree. They don't say, you'll hear people very seldom say, I want to get in a relationship because I really want to learn how to share and evolve and learn how to give and be generous and to love with another person. It'll be, I'm lonely, I really would like to have a relationship, I'm really ready to be with somebody, I want somebody to do something, I want them to be, it's like usually when I wanted a relationship, I was always thinking about a need that I had that I wanted somebody to meet. Now, am I alone in this? Do y'all relate to what I'm saying? Yeah, the first thing that comes up is, I'm lonely tonight. I want to see you, not because I want you to feel like you got comfort and company. I'm freaking lonely. I want you to make me feel like I'm not alone tonight. So I had to get conscious of the fact that I wasn't ever thinking of the other person 99% of the time. With every fantasy and desire I had, it was total self-absorption. And then I would be shocked that I would meet somebody who didn't care about my happiness as much as theirs. That's the way I am. So why am I going to attract Mother Teresa? I'm not looking at it that way. I'm not thinking about what I can do for you first, but yet I'm actually insulted that I'm with someone who seems not to put me first. And I'm not putting them first either. So you gotta be honest with yourself now. You gotta tell yourself the truth. Then you start being a loving person. First you gotta admit that there's a part of you that's completely selfish, completely selfish, completely selfish, completely selfish, completely, did I say completely selfish? There's a part of us that's just out for itself. There's a part of us that's just out for itself. It just wants what it wants. It doesn't give a damn about nobody else and what they want. It's all, there's an Earl that is completely psycho, crazy, selfish, projects, blames, hold grievances, you name it, he's here. He's in my mind. And enlightenment only means I'm no longer letting him guide me. It doesn't mean he's not there. He's still there. It's just that he's giving me, kill them all. It's okay, I won't do it. He only pulled in front of me in the lane. That's not a death warrant. I'm sorry. Because my ego just want to, because the guy passed by me one day and he thought that I gave him the finger or I got upset with him or something, and it was like some gang member type things. And I pulled up to the stop sign, they pulled up to the stop sign next to me, and then the guy got out of the car and he was coming over to attack me. And I was sitting there and my power window wasn't working right. No. I was like, and I looked at him and I said, he was like, I said, bless you. And he went, then he went and got in the car. These books say a real, sincere request for peace in an instant can protect you as much as a policeman would. But most people don't believe that. They don't believe that peace is stronger than war. They don't believe that peace is stronger than attack. We think peace and love is weak. That's when you're most vulnerable, that's when you can be hurt the most, that's when people are going to take advantage of you, is when you're peaceful and when you're loving. And then our ego teaches us, the false part of us teaches us, the more you attack and defend, the stronger you become. But actually all it does is attract more attack and more defense. So how do you stop attack and defense in your life? You have to do the thing that's so scary for most people, but it's another one of those bridges you have to cross on the spiritual path. And it's this one. Someone appears to attack you and you do not attack back. That's the only way you stop that cycle. Even though that's scary today. In other words, like the guy came up to attack me, I had to choose for peace to stop it. Because if I attack, then he attacks, then I attack, then he attacks, then I attack, and he attacks, and I attack, and he attacks, and I attack. That's the way it increases. So somebody, this is a reflection, it's not going to be in the mirror if I don't put it in the mirror. So at some point, I've got to stop putting it in the mirror. And your ego says, well, you're just going to let yourself be all ran over. They're just going to run all over you if you don't just always attack back. And the truth is, it's nothing like that. It's when you don't attack, there is no one to attack. It's so weird. It's like the only people who say that about there's somebody that's going to hurt them all the time are the people who hurt themselves. And then they get that mirrored back at them, and then they believe that that's the way the world is, and they don't know it's just what they're doing to themselves through others. So you're in control of when it stops, because you can stop attacking yourself. Like, what did he tell us? He says, it's not about you trying to think about how fast you can love somebody else. He says, what you want to do first of all is spend time loving you first. That's some great advice.
Yep.
Take you out to dinner. Take you to a movie. Get lucky with you tonight.
Yeah. That's right.
You know what I'm saying? I never turn myself down. You know what I mean? Yes, my dear.
Okay, I was just gonna say earlier when you were talking about how you can't put someone else in perspective of someone from your past.
Mm-hmm.
I think even more importantly, like, not only are they someone else, but you're someone else than who you used to be.
That's
in the
right.
past.
That's right. That's why you don't have. That's why you shouldn't be afraid to enter relationships again, just because you have a history of them not working out. And don't think because you had that experience with somebody in the past that you're going to have that same experience with the next person, because you're constantly growing and changing, and so you attract a person based on who you are today, not who you were yesterday. So there are many people that's afraid to try new experiences because of what happened the last time they tried something, as if they're the same person they were the last time they tried it. So they don't even try. And that's very prominent with people in my age group. But they think they've done it all. And they think they've had it all. And they think they know how everything's going to turn out before you even do it. And all they're doing is limiting themselves to their own personal experiences from the past and not allowing themselves to have a whole new life. And that's what keeps me young, is that I had that same excitement about the possibilities for my life as I had when I was 30 years old. And a lot of times with people in my age group, they're living through their children and they're living through their grandchildren. And they're living through everything but themselves. But when you say, what do you want? How do you want to express? Then it's almost like you shock them. Because in their minds, it's all over. It's done. I'm just here now to babysit.
Yeah.
You know, and that's cool if you love babysitting. I'm not knocking the form. You know, whatever it is, what floats your boat. You know what I'm saying? Do it. But don't ever stop asking what's next. And how can things be even better than this? Like the greatest thing could happen to you and you go, what could happen that's even greater than this? Always keep yourself open to the next incredible thing that can occur. That's deep, y'all. That's deep. And so it's saying to us, I'm going to try to finish this paragraph because we headed into home stretch and I want to do a quick review so that we can kind of recap it all. He says, so there is a transcendence of karma through unconditional love, and unconditional love. Okay, I'm jumped ahead. Karma then cannot be said to exist because that mind is no longer experiencing effects coming back at it. That mind has transcended the world of cause and effect, and regardless of what arises, you just love. And who can be in prison who simply loves? So there is a transcendence of karma through unconditional love. Do you know the biggest breakthrough for me is I can have all my ego thoughts of anger and fear and guilt and upset and doubt and all that, but I don't beat myself up about it. See, most people are they think being spiritual means you never have those thoughts. And they don't know that being spiritual means that you have total acceptance of all your thoughts. And that you don't judge yourself for any of it. It's either love or a call for love, and it's all you're ever doing. But so when you see people think that they're not getting it because they still have any kind of fearful negative thoughts, you know that ego really has them good. Because if your ego sets it up where the only time you're going to have peace is when everything is perfect in your perception about how you think it should be, and it means you're always positive no matter what, you can hang it up. You can hang it up. It ain't happening. You are getting it when you can go, oh, I just had the thought that I want to kill somebody and I won't do it, and I'm going to go in here and I'm going to make me some oatmeal. I'm going to make me an omelet instead of killing my husband. You know? And now you know you're beginning to get it. And so that's right. Listen to Sai Bubba. I'm trying to tell you. All right.
My
So.
spouse is still alive. I must be spiritual.
That's right. You still hate most of the people you know. You must be almost an enlightened master. He was cited to example on some part of the book that he was saying that you could almost like come to the table with your partner. You say, last night I dreamed that I cut your head off and ran you up and put you in a cylinder and buried you. And y'all would go, ah! That's really funny because they know that was just your ego and you love them so much you would never actually do that. So when you're actually with somebody that y'all love each other and you know you love each other, you will say anything to each other and you know that it won't destroy your relationship. So there's no repression, and since there's no repression, there's much less anger in the relationship. Like if you ask, it's almost like if a person was really being spiritual, they wouldn't sound like a spiritual person at all. Like you would be with a couple that was being spiritual and she might be saying, "You low down bastard, I can't stand you." And she's like, "Oh baby, I know you can't stand me. Come on, let's go to the movie." You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, that's what my ego thought. I said what my ego thought. I know it's not true. You know it's not true. It's gone. But then I feel that way and I repress it and I feel guilty about it and I feel like I shouldn't say that. And then I think of something else I feel like I should say that I didn't say. Then I think of something else I feel like I wanted to say that I didn't say. Then you got all this repressed anger and fear that you're giving so much power to, and then they just happen to do one little thing, brush against you in the kitchen, and then you hit them upside the head with a hatchet. And they don't know, and they do not understand why the reaction was so out of proportion to the thing they had just done. Y'all know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And that's because the person's been repressing all this time. And they reached their limit. Where if you all made it okay because you didn't see your relationship as being so fragile that y'all could go ahead and say anything y'all want to say to each other, you probably never would ever attack each other. Because your love is so strong, no words of the ego can get rid of you. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for those kind of relationships in my life. where I don't have to always be perfect. That I can show every aspect of the human spectrum and still be okay. I don't want to be around somebody. That's what I'm telling you. Earl is just the craziest ego as you have. You know, I'm telling you. That's why I'm teaching. Telling you now. I make errors, I make mistakes, just like you do. Just like you do. The only difference might be I've been in this stuff longer, so I kind of know what to tell myself faster to get out of it. And then I'm trying to pass it on. That's it. That's it. If you see me, I'm still learning. If I see you, you're still learning. So if I see Wayne Dow, Marianne Williamson, Eckhart Tolle, Sai Baba, if I see them, they're learning. And they got an ego just like I have. So no teachers that you admire are any different from you. I hang out with them. I know that's true. Okay, they channel just like I'm channeling, just like you are channeling. When love comes through you, they're channeling their higher self, and they got an ego that needs to learn everything their higher self is saying, just like us. No different. So when you meet them on a personal level, sometimes you get shocked because you don't see the personality that you saw up on stage, because who you saw up on stage was their higher self, and who you see behind stage is their ego. So what I try to do as much as I can is try to be the same person all the time. You know, it's not try not to have. You know, the only difference between I'm extroverted in here and I'm introverted in my personal life. You know, because everybody's got a multidimensional expression of themselves. So I'm not looking for you to be the same every time I see you. I want you to be a variety of ways. You don't have to stick to one way. So in other words, I'm giving you a break. I'm freeing you from having to make me happy. I make myself happy. I'm not blaming you for what I'm going through. I love you if you come and you don't come. I love if you where you think you need to be on a Tuesday night. And if you think it's not here, then I really want you to be where you need to be and to feel innocent about that. If you never come back and I run into you 6 months from now, I'm not going to ask you where you've been and why you haven't been to the class. You'll never hear that come out of my mouth. Because it's all about people feeling innocent and free. And everything I can do to support you feeling innocent and free is the highest thing I can do, because if you feel that way, then you'll let good things happen to you. You will let good things happen to you if you feel innocent and free. So somebody that's loving you, they're not trying to make you feel guilty. Someone that's loving you is not trying to make you feel guilty. Somebody that loves you is not trying to make you feel guilty. That doesn't mean you don't make mistakes. It doesn't mean they don't make mistakes. It doesn't mean that you don't have some things y'all might have to talk out. But your goal is never to make each other feel guilty. You might want to get some things straightened out. You might want to get some things clear. You might want to get an understanding, but your goal is not to attack the person. That's the way it is in a holy relationship. You love them so much you say, I'm so mad right now, I'm not seeing things, so let's not talk right now. Let me go take a drive right now. Let me go take a walk. Let me go talk to somebody. And then when I'm seeing things more clearly, let's sit down and talk about what I think happened last night. See, that's the way conscious beings deal with each other. Unconscious beings go, don't you go nowhere. You're going to talk to me about this right here and right now, when you're most insane and most likely to want to kill me. That's when I want you to talk about it right now. See, that's how insane we are. That's why we have to have compassion for us. We're something else, y'all. Right? We just cute and just so cute and insane.
At least we're cute.
At least we're cute. At least we're cute. So I want to acknowledge you for hearing this tonight. Would you acknowledge yourself, Holy Spirit? Whoa. Yeah, we've been having some really cool times together of learning. If you haven't, please sign the contact list so that you can get copies of the videos that I'm doing of the classes, so you can watch them again. Also, so that I can let you know and you can find out when I'm not here, for some reason the class isn't here. So is there anyone that needs to be on the contact list so that they can know what the heck is going on? Okay. Also, thank you for your financial expressions of appreciation. I really thank you for it. Thank you so much. Those of you on the internet, if you want to make a financial expression of appreciation, just go to earlpurdy.com and you'll be able to do it. And I want to thank you all also for sharing with me. And I want to invite you to have a personal session with me called a clarity session, where we take all this information and my knowledge, of course, of astrology and numerology and bring it to your situation and give you another way to look at it that might be helpful to you. So I'm here for you. Tons of classes on YouTube, tons of classes on my website and on my Facebook. I got a Course in Miracles group book. It's up to like 1,300 people now.
Yay.
And that's a lot of Course in Miracles students. coming together. So I love what the Holy Spirit is doing. I love what God is doing in my life. I love what the higher power is doing through me. I love being a conduit. I'm so glad I'm not trying to be anything but a conduit. I used to have all these personal interests that I was trying to act out. It's so much easier saying, I want to get out of the way, do your thing through me, and then I watch Spirit do his thing through me. And you know the part that was most exciting was that all of my fantasies were taken care of as well as my real needs. And that the Course was absolutely right. There is no sacrifice if you really and truly focus in on the truth. So whatever problems you think you have right now, those problems can be solved, but not if you don't give any attention and study to your spiritual path. Because you know why? Not because Spirit is denying you, but if you don't know how to communicate with love, which is what these books teach you, you won't even recognize it when it's right in front of your face. The answer will be there, but you won't even recognize it. That's why you study, so you'll know how to recognize the answer when it shows up. So that's it. All right, so take a breath now and just close your eyes for a minute. Just let Earl talk to you just a minute. That's all I want to do. So if you want to let go of all the effects of everything you think you've done in the past that was negative and fearful and unloving, if you want to let go of everything that you think you've done in the past that might come back into your life because you know it's your karma, it was something you put out there that might come back and you know you don't want that to come back anymore. You want to get rid of karma. This is what you do. First thing I want you to do is say, I'm going to love myself first. 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 First. You heard that? You got that one?
Got it.
All right. Now, you're going to say, I'm not going to place any conditions on God. I refuse to place 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 conditions on God. That's so that you can receive everything without any kind of blocks. Next thing that you do, when you receive that idea, when you receive that divine guidance, the way you can tell is that it's going to make you feel inspired. Divine guidance makes you feel inspired. So when you receive that impulse, when you receive that desire to act, follow up on it, 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 follow up on it. The next thing that you do, you tell yourself, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. 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 So that means I'm willing to be wherever I need to be so that that thing may occur or may not occur. But the main thing you want, if you want unconditional love and success, is to tell yourself, I'm willing to take a risk. I'm willing to take a risk. I am willing to take a risk. I am willing to take a risk. So somebody who's living in a state of unconditional love, that's the kind of attitude they have. And whether they think about it or not, it means that whether you think about it or not, what you're telling yourself is that the universe will somehow arrange itself and support me to follow my heart. The universe will somehow arrange itself and will support me to follow my heart. The universe will somehow arrange itself and will support me to follow my heart.
Woo-hoo.
I'm willing to follow the path of heart. 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 I'm willing to do what I can get my heart into. I want to do what I can get my heart into. I want to do the thing I can get my heart into. I want to do the thing that I can get my heart into. I want to follow the path of heart. I will follow the path of heart. I will follow the path of heart. I will follow the path of